Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and when you travel, are you worried about carrying your papers with you, your documents like your passport and extra money? Well, I have a perfect project. It is a pickpocket safe pocket, perfect for predators. It's going to be a pocket that fits inside of your clothes, and you'll only need your belt. I'm going to make this for a belt that is 1.5 inches wide. You're going to be able to adjust it to the size of a belt that you are most comfortable wearing. It could be bigger or it could be smaller. So I'm starting with the 1.5 inches. If you can get one long piece of fabric, that is going to be really great. It is 6 inches by 48 inches, and I cut this along the length of the fabric so that I could get one long piece, and it's also very strong that way. You can also do it with 2 separate pieces of fabric, which will be 6 inches by 24 inches. It seems like a lot of pocket, but it's going to compress when we get it all put together. If you're going to use one piece of fabric, you don't need to sew it together. You can do that at the end, or you can sew it together as one long strip now. The choice is yours. I'm going to be using a very soft, lightweight muslin because I want this as thin as possible, but I also want it strong. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over 1/4 inch along each side and press it. Once I've pressed over both sides at 1/4 inch, I'm going to top stitch this down. Now I'm going to use dark thread so you can see as I'm working along. When those edges have been top stitched down, we're going to need to fold this down 2.5 inches. So you're going to fold once at 2.5 inches, press it, and then fold again at 2.5 inches. So that seam that you originally sewed is going to be sitting right there up at the top. Do that to both sides. Top stitch right along the top and along this bottom, so you're going to hold all 3 of these layers together. This top section is going to be a section where you're going to loop the belt through. So you're going to need to make 2 buttonholes on each side, and they need to be the same distance on each piece. I've measured over from each edge 1 3/4. Now I want to turn those lines into buttonholes to match my belt. Now you can use a tape measure, a ruler, but I'm just going to stick that belt down, and I'm going to mark on each side of the lines of the belt. Now I know for sure I'm not going to get it too small. What I want to do is make a buttonhole that big plus just a little bit more. I want the belt to be able to go through comfortably, but I don't want it too loose. Chances are your machine is not going to have a setting to do a buttonhole this big. So we're going to be able to make that buttonhole with just zigzag stitches. So set up your machine for a zigzag, and you're going to start just on the other side of that line and zigzag all the way up, going just past that top line. Do a couple of stitches going back and forth, and then turn around and do that zigzag all the way back down past that line. So there's that zigzag on both sides and along the top and the bottom. Now if your machine will do any size buttonhole, by all means use it. And then you're going to be able to just cut down that center, and you're going to have the buttonhole the size that you want. You're going to need to do that to all 4 marks. Regardless if your machine will do it or you do a zigzag one, it'll be fine. You just need to make sure that the belt is going to go through all of the loops. The next is going to be sewing this together in one long pocket. We're going to want to sew those long seams together. Now you can serge them together, do a regular seam, but I'm going to do a French seam because I want them to be as flat and still as strong as I can get them. So to do that, I am going to match up the wrong sides together first, and I'm going to make sure that those buttonholes line up. I'm going to sew a scant 1/4 inch all the way down the edges. Now if you've not sewn your bottom together, you can put that right in that seam now. Once those stitches have been done, you can turn the bag out. So now you're going to have the right sides touching and the wrong sides on the outside. Match up your buttonholes and press those seams so that they're tight against that edge. Now you're going to be able to do another row of stitching on both sides and the bottom if that's what you had. Now you're going to stitch a generous 1/4 inch. So what's happening is that first seam allowance is going to be inside the second seam allowance. When those 2 seams are done, you're going to be able to turn that bag out again. You now have a clean seam both inside and outside. Now you have this really long bag that has these 2 belt loops that match up at the top. Now you're going to be able to change the size to whatever you want, so you might decide what you want to carry before you make this. I'm going to be able to put a passport in it, I'm going to be able to put some money in it, and even a cell phone if I want. And it's going to just slide right into the bottom. Now I find it's better to have it longer than wider. It's very easy to use. So you're going to put whatever you want secure in the bottom of this pocket. You could put jewelry, passports, papers, money. And before you go into that last loop of a pair of pants, you're going to thread it through the top 2 of those buttonholes so that that's together. And then just finish up belt. So you have this long pocket now outside. You're going to be able to take this and fold it right inside. So it's going to go right along the inside of the leg. It's nice and flat here, and it's been twisted a couple of times, so it's even more secure that nothing is going to bounce out. Unlike something in a back pocket, it can work its way out as you're walking. This it cannot. It's very flat and smooth along the waist, and having that very thin cotton really helps keeping the bulk down. Depending on how tall you are and what you're carrying inside, you can adjust the size of the pocket. You can also take this, if you find it's not long enough, and thread it in the top, and thread it so that the bag is pointing up, not down. Now you're going to be able to just fold that down inside. Now there is no way a pickpocket is going to be able to pickpocket this. So this is definitely a pickpocket safe pocket. First time I made this, my husband and I laughed and we thought, this cannot be possible. But it really works and it's very comfortable. So the idea is you're going to carry what you need for that day on you, and the rest you can keep safe right inside. I have made this and my husband and I have used it to travel with, and I make it for friends when they travel. And so far, everyone has loved it. So give it a try and see if you like it. You're going to be able to adjust whatever width you want and the length you want. Start with as long as you can, and then you can always make it smaller once you adjust it to the size that you are going to want to wear. It's comfortable, it's cool, it's there, and you never have to worry about any pickpockets picking your pocket. So this is a pickpocket safe pocket, perfect for predators when you are on vacation. I do hope you give it a try, and as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.